you so much for joining. I appreciate that and signing up and being interested in learning. You should all be able to see my screen right now. Everyone's muted, as I mentioned before, just so we don't get a bunch of background noise, and then I'll open it up for question and answers at the end. So the title of this webinar here, this educational webinar, is the GDS right for you? So I'm going to get started here, and I'll go through these slides one by one. So a little bit about RezStream. So most of you guys are existing clients of RezStream today, but I think it's a good recap for those of you that haven't been a part of any of these educational webinars. Just kind of get a refresher of who we are and what we do for those of you that may only have a product of ours or have other interests. So who is RezStream? RezStream was established in 2005. We're located out of Denver, Colorado, and we have about 21 employees. About 18 of those employees are in our headquarter office each and every day here in Denver, and we've got about 3 to 4 employees that are remotely, a couple programmers, one in Minnesota, one in Michigan, and then we also have a sales rep, Sean Hopkins, for those of you familiar, that's down in Austin, Texas. Prior to 2005, for those of you that have been with us for a real long time, RezStream operated as Resovation, and then prior to that, we were Mesa Creek, and then some of you may have even been around when we were Windroom. So we've been around for a long time, lots of experience here at RezStream. As far as what we do, think of RezStream in two different instances, if you will, or two different sides of RezStream. We've got the software side of the house, where RezStream provides the RezStream Professional Reservation software, the online booking engine, and the global distribution service, which we'll learn more about today. And then on our internet services side of the house, RezStream has a website design department where we design and develop custom websites as well as turnkey solutions. And RezStream also offers internet marketing services. So for those of you out there looking to increase your online visibility through internet marketing and driving direct bookings to your website, we provide those services. As far as who it is that we focus on and work with, RezStream only works with independent properties, so we don't work with any chains or franchise properties. We focus only on independents, and RezStream's main focus or clientele is those properties with 100 rooms or less. So we've got a couple properties with more rooms than that. However, our core focus is on those properties with 100 rooms and less, and that's really where we tailor our products to fit within the hospitality marketplace. As far as what we do here at RezStream, guys, you know, I like to tell this story for those of you that aren't familiar. The founders of RezStream, Alan and Bill and Gary, you know, they started this company, Bill and Gary, they grew up in Estes Park, Colorado. And their family owned and operated an independent property up in Estes Park. And they got to go through the struggles of a small independent property, and they got to see how difficult it was to compete with the local chain hotels. And they realized the tools that were necessary to run the business and the marketing efforts necessary. So the foundation and the passion behind RezStream was solely based on those experiences of that family property, and all of our products and services are geared around that market for those specific reasons. We want to provide the best solutions possible, the tools for you guys to run your business, and we also want to put a focus on increasing and driving revenue for those small properties out there that don't have unlimited marketing budgets like a lot of those chain hotels do. As far as who we employ here at RezStream, obviously, we're always looking for people that have industry experience within hospitality, but more importantly than that, we want passionate professionals. So, you know, having average employees isn't good enough for us at RezStream, so we're very thorough in everyone that we hire, and we want to make sure that they buy in and believe to what our core values are here at RezStream, and I think that's what helps differentiate us from a lot of the other vendors and competitors out there. And then lastly, part of what we're doing today, guys, is education. RezStream has over 700 customers that we work with from east to west coast, from north to south here in the U.S. and some outside of the U.S. And we're very big on experiences, and we like to share experiences that we have with other properties as well as the tools that we all help provide here, and we like to share that with people. What I typically find in talking to people in my 5 years here at RezStream is a lot of properties are familiar with their town and their tools and the people in which they speak with, but to have someone that does this every day and touches all of the things that we do here, it's great to share that education along with everyone. Just a little bit about me, guys. Like to show a picture here. You know, I asked the design department to kind of slim me down in the tummy area and make me a little bit bigger in the arm area, but they wanted to give an accurate representation, so I was a little disappointed. But a little bit about me. I've been married for 5 years, and I've been together dating my wife for 19 years. We're coming up on our 20-year anniversary of being together. We have a 4-year-old daughter. Her name is Ashlyn, and I'll tell you what, boy, she runs the house and has me wrapped around her finger, that's for sure. I was born and raised here in Denver. Huge sports enthusiast, both in watching and playing sports. I've been here at RezStream for 5 years. As far as what I do here, for those of you that aren't familiar, I'm responsible for the sales and the marketing and the support department here at RezStream. So if you guys have good feedback or negative feedback or comments in general, I'm a good source to kind of pass those comments on to, because I help control those things. You know, I put a little thing in here recently. We've gotten a ping pong table here at work that was part of our Fun Club initiatives for building a great culture here at RezStream. And, you know, several of us, you know, stay late after work, and, you know, we spend a lot of time on that ping pong table. I don't know why. I think I might trying to be making the Olympics. I'm not sure. Lastly here, in general, you know, I just love helping people. I consider myself a fixer of problems, and so, you know, when I talk to people and work with clients, you know, my goal is really to help people out. You know, even if that means providing some consultation or education where it doesn't necessarily make money for the company. I'm very passionate about making sure that the people that we work with are taken care of and making the right business decisions and gaining the education that's important to them. So a little bit about me. As far as today's agenda, guys, here's kind of what we're going to go through. Again, I'm recording this, so if you have to drop off early, I can get you a copy, as well as we'll have question and answer at the end. And always feel free to reach out to me if you have additional questions or interests. So we're going to go over what is the GDS, how it can benefit you. We're going to talk about the couple different options that you guys have as properties to get listed on online travel agents, as well as what those are. I'm going to cover some frequently asked questions. RezStream's been providing this GDS service for about 9-10 years now. I've been involved in that for the last 5, so pretty much covered any and every question you can think of, so I want to cover the main ones for you there. There is a promotional offer that we're running, so wanted to share that with you guys as well. And then also to let you know if this is something that you think is a good fit for your property and have benefits for you. I kind of want to walk you through the process of what you're going to be responsible for when you go through the sign-up process of the GDS. So getting started here, global distribution system. You know, I pulled this definition here, and I'm going to let you guys go ahead and read through that. I don't need to read it word for word for you, but basically the overview here is the GDS system started out, and it was really made for flight reservations. And then, as we all know it today, the GDS has expanded out to offer car rentals as well as lodging, which is why you guys are here. And this bullet point down at the bottom here, for lodging properties, the GDS and these travel websites, travel agents, it was really initially geared around those hotel and motel properties that had a lot of room inventory, and typically those that had some lower pricing for that. But the market has continually adapted year over year. So when I started 5 years ago, it was completely different in terms of how those websites work compared to today, and that's kind of what I want to explain to you guys. So no longer is this system just geared for people with a whole bunch of inventory that charge less than $100. So it works for many different types of properties and different segments of hospitality, and we'll go and touch on those a little bit. What is an online travel agent? You guys may already know this, and for those of you that don't know it and you just see the, the short version of it, an OTA, it stands for an online travel agent, okay? So you have a traditional travel agent, so think of John Doe's World Travel that's local in town, and people can go there and they can sign up and work through that local travel agent. That's more of a traditional travel agent. And then you have these online travel agents, or OTAs. And some examples of those OTAs would include Expedia, Travelocity, Priceline, Orbitz, Booking.com. So I use these as a reference because I'm pretty familiar, or I'm pretty sure I should say that most of you are familiar with those guys. That's what would be defined as an online travel agent. Think of that as a major travel website, whereas you have the traditional travel agent, which would be the local guys that I referenced. I wanted to put a stat in here for you guys just to kind of show you how big these travel agents are. Expedia is working with 45,000 lodging properties. Travelocity is working with 55,000 hotels. And the one that's been more relevant in the last couple years that some of you may be working with currently or thinking of is Booking.com. They're offering, according to their website, 268,000 different places to stay across 179 different countries. So when you think of these online travel agents, OTAs, these major travel websites, it's a great way to increase your online visibility, which in turn is going to give you the opportunity to be seen for those potential guests that may not otherwise find you and ultimately drive some revenue for you. So that's what OTAs are. As far as benefits, this is what you guys should be taking away from today. Why should you consider the GDS system? Why should you consider getting listed on these online travel agents, OTAs, these major travel websites? Well, first of all, as far as the benefits of the GDS system, guys, and what we're talking about is you can get listed on hundreds of travel websites, hundreds of the leading online travel websites. Well, I gave you a big reference of maybe 6 of those. Well, this can actually open the door to hundreds of them. So you want to talk about increasing your visibility online exponentially compared to maybe what you may or may not be doing with internet marketing efforts, driving traffic directly to your website, or any local branding, or other directories you may be listed in, or word of mouth. This can get you exposure real quick, real fast to a lot of places. In addition to hundreds of online travel websites, you're going to get listed with 600,000 different travel agents. So again, the branding of your property, the potential for your inventory to get seen out there throughout the world, in essence, is great, and that's a huge benefit. Increasing that online exposure and driving traffic to your website. What I mean here by this is there are typically different types of guests or consumers. You have those in which that are very internet savvy. They will do their research online, and they will make their way to your website, and they will either pick up the phone and call you, or they will book directly via your website. And those bookings are the ones that we all want, right? The direct bookings are the most profitable for you. Well, then there's the other portion of the guests out there, or the consumers, that are going to use these travel websites. And a lot of people out there use them as a search engine, if you will. For example, I would go to Expedia, and I would search on a lodging place to stay for my trip for my family and I will look at all the various different options, and I'll use that kind of like a search engine. And then because I'm in the industry, I will then go directly to your website because I know I can save some money for myself and for you guys. So a lot of guests out there are using these sites like search engines, and they're going directly to your website making bookings, which is a great advantage for you and another reason why you guys should consider this for your property. The potential for revenue increases. So you're known out there with your repeat guests, and your repeat guest is a great way to sustain business, but as we know, there's ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys, right? Not every repeat guest comes back every single year, and sometimes that's where the struggles come from. But in order to grow your business, we need to be getting new guests, new clientele that we can then market to, and by we, I mean you, to bring those guests back and make them turn into repeat guests. So we really got to grow, and the way that we grow is to get new business. And a great way to get new business is this GDS offering, which is why you're all here today. The next point I have here is taking advantage of the OTAs, the online travel agents, the major websites here, and their marketing efforts. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm assuming we all have TVs. I'm assuming we've all seen some commercials, whether it's Travelocity and the little gnome, whether it's the Booking.com commercials that are becoming more relevant, Booking.yeah, if you guys have seen that, as well as I've seen some Expedia commercials during the Super Bowl when gazillions of people are watching that game, right? So by taking advantage of the GDS, in essence, we're taking advantage of these major travel websites that have deep marketing pockets that are doing nothing but trying to drive bookers or guests to their website, where obviously you can be listed with your room availability and potentially increase your revenue. And that kind of leads into the next one, being able to list your room availability. Guys, if you've got vacancy, which last time I checked, I don't think I've ever talked to anyone that runs at 100% occupied year-round, you know, this is a good way to look to fill that room inventory. Also with midweek bookings, typically what we're all used to is you guys are typically booked on weekends, right, which is great. But how do we get more heads in beds during the week to drive up our revenue, to get new business, to get more repeat business? Well, this is a good way to fill some of those midweek bookings or vacancies that you guys have now. Lastly here, the benefits. Two-way integration with many of the leading property management systems. So let me explain that a little bit more. For those of you that are currently using or working directly with an OTA or a travel website, for those of you that work already with Expedia or work already with Booking.com, currently your process for getting your inventory and availability to show on their website and to get any bookings they send you back into potentially RezStream Professional's reservation software, that is a manual process. So if you take a phone call booking or you get a booking directly from your website, you now have to go to Booking.com and Expedia and update that information so you don't get a double booking. Same thing happens vice versa, right? You get a booking from Booking.com or Expedia, now you got to log into your reservation software to update that you got a booking so you do not get a double booking. Well, this GDS system, RezStream has built a connection to our GDS vendor, who then has a connection to all of these travel websites. So that way, there is a two-way automatic connection once your property information is set up. So your bookings from those sources will automatically download into the reservation software, and your availability will automatically upload. Now, granted, there's additional fees, which I'll cover later on, but the benefit is you no longer are having to manage multiple different channels of your availability. When I talk to a lot of small properties, they don't have an additional resource. A lot of you guys are the ones taking the reservations and the phone calls. A lot of you guys are managing the staff. You're doing your marketing efforts. Some of you are even cleaning the rooms. So a lot of you don't necessarily have a budget to hire a full-time person to manage your inventory. Well, this GDS system brings it all together so that it's a conducive solution overall of doing that automatically for you. Moving on here, is my property a good fit for the GDS? Well, what types of properties are good? If you recall one of the earlier slides I mentioned, long time ago it was geared around those hotels, motels with a lot of inventory, right? Well, that's changed. That's in the past. We work with bed and breakfast. We work with inns, hotels, motels, vacation rental companies, property management companies. There is no type of property that offers lodging that isn't necessarily going to have some success here on this GDS system. Next is those of you in a desirable location, okay? Now let me explain what I mean by that so there's no confusion. If you're in an area that attracts tourists because people want to come there because there are things to do, typically the GDS works out well for you. If you're a property that's in a location where you don't get a lot of tourist attraction as well as there isn't a lot of stuff to do in the area, then GDS may not be the best fit for you. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule. I worked with a property about 5 years ago, and they still are on the GDS system. They were the only one in their town on the GDS, and they've done phenomenally well every single year, And as a result, now they have got some competition in town that is also participating in the GDS. So if you have specific questions, reach out to me and I'll give you the best advice and consultation that I can, but no longer be afraid of getting listed on these websites, right? I mentioned this point earlier, less than 100% occupancy. If you've got some room vacancy and you're looking to get some new clientele, some new blood, some new repeat guests that you can market to, this is a good way to do it. If your marketing efforts don't include search engine optimization or pay-per-click, then the GDS is definitely something that you should be considering. Again, the best bookings that you're going to get are those direct bookings because you're going to pay less money for those bookings or to acquire those bookings. If you guys don't have time or don't have the budget available to do your own internet marketing efforts with SEO and pay-per-click, then definitely look at the GDS. As well as, I've got about 50+ clients that do internet marketing efforts that also partake in the GDS. So think of it as another channel to increase your exposure to drive potential revenue and bookings and guests for your property. If you either offer your units or you display your units by room type, excuse me, or individual units, this system can work for you. Now, back in the day, it was more geared around those that had room types, the hotels. I have many of one. I've got 20 king rooms. I have 30 queen rooms. I've got a ton of properties, B&Bs, vacation rentals, that return by individual unit, meaning the John Wayne room, which is different from my Marilyn Monroe room. The system can still work for those types of properties that have individual units. So do not be scared if you have individual units. I have many properties that have success on the GDS. Interested in gaining new customers. I think I've kind of drilled that home, but this is a great way to do so. Something that I wanted to mention down here in the bottom 2 bullet points is the way that the GDS works is they offer 16 different room types, and this is how the system has always been, but this is how those B&Bs and those vacation rentals that have individual rooms are using the system. When you sign up for the GDS and you pay those initial sign-up fees, it includes up to 16 different room types or 16 individual rooms if you want to look at it from that manner. Now, for those of you that have more than 16 individual rooms that are interested in adding more inventory, you can do so. And you can add an additional cluster, is what they call it, which gets you a second block of 16 rooms for those of you that have individual rooms. Now, granted, there are additional fees for that, but nonetheless, it can be adapted to work for your property needs. So, in my opinion, that's a great thing. Okay. The next couple of slides here that I'm going to show you guys is I'm going to show you the 2 different ways in which you can get listed with online travel agents, which are the major travel websites. Option 1, which I'm assuming some of you have, which is why you're listening in today to learn more about the second option, which is the GDS. But option 1 is what's called a merchant agreement. Okay? A merchant agreement means that you sign a direct agreement with the single travel website or multiple travel websites you want to get listed on. For example, you want to be on Expedia. You want your inventory, your property to be on Expedia. You call Expedia directly. You sign agreement with Expedia. And then from that point, if you want to add Booking.com, you call Booking.com, you sign a different agreement with Booking.com, okay? So this merchant agreement model is you hand select the travel websites that you want to be on, and you go and you contact them directly. Well, here's how that works, okay? These guys typically charge between 15 and 25%. The old standard model has always been 25%. But Booking.com kind of broke up that model, and they've been doing a real good job with their travel website gaining customers because they're charging 15%. Well, recently, Expedia has been putting a big push on their Quick Connect program, which is also at 15%. So they were losing some market share to Booking.com, and for smaller properties that didn't want to pay 25% commissions, they've now adjusted and also offered their own Quick Connect program for smaller properties. So that's why I put this range, 15 to 25% when you go direct on a merchant agreement with the website you want to be on. Now, some advantages, some features, things that you need to be aware of. When you sign a direct agreement, typically you get what is called a quality listing placement. What I mean by that is lot of these guys will guarantee you placement on page 1 of the search results. So let me give you an extreme example that probably doesn't apply for any of you on the call today. Let's take Las Vegas for an example. There's gazillions of hotels in Las Vegas, and not everyone can be on page 1, but when you sign that direct agreement, you pay more money percentage-wise for every booking that you get, and they're going to give you some type of guarantee or an advanced listing placement, okay? The other thing that they like to do with those merchant agreements is they like to give you a secondary market to a major city, meaning that if you're in, I'll just use my state here, Colorado. If I have a hotel or a property in Lakewood, Lakewood isn't really well known. A lot of you probably have never heard of Lakewood, Colorado before. However, Lakewood's only about 10 miles in the suburbs outside of Denver, and you all have heard of Denver because it's the capital of Colorado. This is what they mean by a secondary market to a major city. So that's another advantage. Next here is advanced listing features, and I took a picture here, a screenshot of Expedia. So what I mean by advanced listing features is you'll notice these star ratings. You'll notice this 4 out of 5 reviews. You'll notice that they're advertising a sell, and they've got a little cross out of the rates to kind of promote it. Another thing that you'll notice is most popular, 6 people booked this hotel in the last 48 hours, or 1 room left. So this is what they define as advanced listing features, is some of these fancy things to kind of catch the eye of the guest that's looking at your potential property in your area to kind of promote you to make a purchase decision. Now, with those fancy listing features, this is what you're paying, okay? So you really need to judge, are these fancy things worth this price, right? And that's ultimately a decision each one of you are going to need to make. We talked about how you have to sign separate agreements. I covered that already. Now, something else to pay attention to is, apologize. Another thing to pay attention to here is travel websites collects the payment from the guest, then they pay you, okay? What I mean by that is John Doe guest goes to Expedia, whom you have a direct merchant agreement with. They book on Expedia. Expedia will collect the credit card information. They will charge the guest, and then they're going to keep their portion, their percentage of that total reservation, and then they're going to send you your money separately. And typically your money gets sent to you after the stay occurs. So although Expedia is collecting the money on your behalf, they're not sending you your portion of the money until after the stay occurs. Some people like that. They like that someone else handles the collection for them. Some people don't like that. Smaller properties typically like that cash flow. They like that deposit or full payment in advance. So something to keep in mind with this particular model. Okay, the second option of how you're going to get listed with an OTA or a travel website is through a GDS agreement, and that's what we're talking about here today. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the GDS agreement or how this works, what happens is you sign one agreement, okay? You sign one agreement, and that agreement is through a company like RezStream. RezStream then has a partner with a GDS provider. We work with InLink and Sabre today. InLink and Sabre are the ones that have the relationship with all those hundreds of travel websites and 600,000 travel agents, okay? So the benefit to you is you're signing one agreement and getting listed on hundreds of travel websites and 600,000 travel agents, whereas on the direct merchant agreement model, you contact every website you want to be on and you sign a different agreement each and every time. Now, the next thing that you should notice here is the cost. Instead of paying 15 to 20% for every booking that you get through a travel website, you're now going to be paying 10%. So whether it's a travel website or travel agent, you are paying 10% of the total cost, or of the total reservation revenue, if you will. So if it's $100, you're going to pay 10% or $10, and you will pay that directly to the travel website, okay? So let's see here. So typically listed below the merchant agreement properties, okay? So what I want you to pay attention down here, this is what a person or a property's listing looks like that is on a GDS agreement. Now, you don't see the stars, you don't see the reviews, you don't see the fancy cross out that shows a lower rate, you don't see any box that says there's only one night or one room left for this particular night search, okay? Now, again, as I mentioned on the previous slide, you need to determine if those fancy listing features are worth paying an additional 5 to 15% for every reservation that you get. Some people think it is, some people think it's not, but that's a call for you to make, okay? Here's something else to pay attention to. Travel sources send you the credit card information and you process the payment. So in a GDS agreement model, the travel website, Expedia, in my example here that I'm talking about, they will take the guest booking, they will collect the guest credit card, John Doe guest, and they're going to send you that information directly. You're responsible for collecting that payment. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, well, I don't have time to do that. I don't have resources to do that. And some of the other ones of you are thinking from a business standpoint, well, hey, that means I can charge them based on my rules. So I can get my money whenever I want, whether I want to use my model that I have today, my deposit structure, my final payment. Maybe I want to take full payment in advance for this reservation and put that money to work for me until that day comes. So let's say someone books today, March 13th for a stay this weekend, March 15th and 16th. You're not going to get your money until next month in April, right, on that other model, because they send it to you the month after the stay occurs on the merchant model. On this GDS model, someone that books today for this weekend, you can charge them in advance right now and collect that money, and you don't have to pay that travel source, that travel website, until the month after the stay occurs when they send you an invoice. So there are some advantages there. The last thing that I really want to drive home the point on, guys, especially for those of you out there that are already working directly with a travel website, or for those of you thinking about it, if you're on a GDS agreement where you sign one contract and you get listed on hundreds of travel websites and 600,000 travel agents, and you collect your money when it's convenient for you instead of waiting for your money to be sent to you, you can also still have direct merchant agreements with the travel websites. Let me give you some examples. Let's say you sign up on the GDS and you're in a high demand area and there's a lot of properties in your area participating on these travel websites like Expedia. And let's say you're listed on page 2, the bottom of page 2. Well, you don't like that and you're willing to pay the extra money for an advanced listing placement. You can still contract directly with Expedia, and Expedia will now get you listed up on page 1 with those fancy features, and you can still take advantage of that one contract, hundreds of websites, 600,000 travel agents. So I want to clearly make the point that just because you go this GDS agreement model does not mean you are now excluded from working directly with any travel website that you want better placement on, or a travel website that maybe you're not listed on at all. So that's very, very important for you guys to take home today. Moving on here. So what does a PMF vendor have to do with all this, like a RezStream, for example, okay? Well, first of all, the PMF provider provides the connection from their reservation software to the GDS providers, okay? Now, what I mean by that is I want you to pay attention here to this little diagram that I have the design team put together, and hopefully this makes sense to you guys. I'll try and explain it, okay? Here is the travel customer. This is John Doe guest, okay? When they book through a travel website like an Expedia, and you guys are participating in this global distribution system, that booking will then come down through, through your booking engine, maybe a RezStream booking engine, and that will communicate directly with your property management software, okay? So whereas those of you that are using the merchant agreement where you're working directly with a travel website like Expedia and you're having to manage those bookings, availability, and inventory manually, a huge benefit of this GDS system and working with a vendor that provides this like a RezStream is that we have built a connection to the GDS system, that InLink, that Sabre company, who then has the relationships with hundreds of travel websites and 600 travel agents, and we've made that connection possible so that it automatically communicates with your reservation software. So when you get a GDS booking from a travel website travel agent, it will automatically download into your RezStream professional reservation software, or whoever it is you may be working with, as well as your availability will now automatically be pushed back up to those hundreds of travel websites and 600,000 travel agents. So your time instead of using it to be used on managing that stuff manually, is now freed up to focus on your guests, your business, your marketing efforts, and everything else that you guys do at your property in wearing multiple hats. We're basically taking out the middle process for you, okay? So that's what a PMF vendor provides for you with this GDS connection, in addition to the things that I've already referenced on the previous slide. Now, as a result of that, there are fees, obviously, right? If a vendor like a RezStream has to not only spend a year or two to build that connection, but constantly maintain that connection to ensure that it's downloading the bookings and uploading the availability, there's a fee for that. Well, InLink is providing you the access to reach those hundreds of travel websites and 600,000 travel agents. RezStream is providing you that connection to InLink for that pipe. Think of this as a pipe of downloading the bookings, uploading the availability. That's where these fees come in. So RezStream gets a portion of those fees, and InLink gets a portion of those fees. And depending upon the vendor that you work with, those fees range anywhere from $15.50 per booking to $17.50. So what I mean by that, on this GDS system, and I'm going to go back a slide here, you're going to pay 10% to the travel source, as we call it, the travel website or travel agent, for the total of that booking, as well as you're going to pay that flat fee for that booking as well. Now, for this flat fee, it doesn't matter if it's a one-night GDS booking or a 5-night GDS booking, you're only going to pay this flat fee. That is not a per-day fee, it is a flat per-booking fee. Other advantages that a PMF vendor has with this GDS connection. Vendors will be able to get you lower fees than what you can get yourself with the GDS provider. So what I mean by that is, someone will call me and say, hey Josh, what does RezStream provide for GDS? I'll share with them the fees. Then they'll reach out to InLink or a company like Sabre directly, and they'll check the fees that they charge. Well, RezStream's had a relationship with InLink for 10 years now, so I guarantee the deal in which I have with them is going to be much greater than any deal you would be able to cut with them, and this has been consistent for the 5 years that I've been here, and that's least likely to change, because a vendor like RezStream or any other PMF provider is going to be sending hundreds of potential opportunities to that GDS vendor as opposed to you guys signing up by yourself. Lastly here, not having a vendor means that you have to do that manual data entry, right, of your bookings and availability. So for those of you on merchant agreements that work directly with the website, by not having that GDS connection, now you're managing all that stuff manually, and we covered that in depth pretty well. Moving on here. So I've shown you the two different options, the merchant agreement and the GDS agreement. Now I want to show you an example of those fees, okay? So I've broken it down. What you see on here on the left is merchant, so that's direct, and that's between 15 and 25%. What you see on the right-hand side here is the GDS fees or retail fees. I probably should have put GDS, I don't want to confuse anybody, which is the 10%, and I took the high, the flat fee of $17.50, okay? Now, I want to use this assumption for math purposes because I'm a dum-dum, but let's assume each room night is $100, okay? So all your properties are equal and each room night is $100 a night. Well, let's do some comparison. On a direct merchant agreement for a one-night booking, you're paying 15 to 25% or $15 to $25 of that $100 room night. On a retail model, you're paying $27.50. Wow, that's a little high, right? That seems a little high. Advantage merchant fees. Well, once you get to 2 nights and beyond, look at the difference here, okay? On a 2-night booking on a merchant direct model, you pay between $30 and $50, whereas on a GDS model, you pay $37.50. And those numbers continue to get better the longer the night stays occur on this GDS model compared to being direct, okay? The other thing I want to point out here is you see these little stars. What those stars indicate is these travel websites in the GDS system, in our 10 years of doing this, have shared with us statistics. The average online travel website booking is between 2 and 3 nights. So for those of you that may be scared by this one night, the average booking tends to be 2 or 3 nights, okay? So no longer be scared. So here, I sign an agreement with every website that I'm on. I pay between 15 and 25%. Over here, I sign one agreement. I get hundreds of websites, 600,000 travel agents, and I collect the money when it's convenient for me, and this model that manual process go away, so everything is automatic. Your availability gets pushed up automatically. Your GDS bookings automatically come down. So I think this is a pretty powerful slide that resonates with a lot of people when you're comparing this. Now, granted, everyone is different. Every property is different. Every location is different. So, you know, basically what I advise people, if they're interested in, give it a try. Give it a try. There's so many advantages, and I would say 9 times out of 10, the advantages strongly outweigh any disadvantages or issues you may run into with the system. And again, this is why you guys are all here today, because you want to learn more. You want to see if this is viable. So hopefully this type of chart and the other information that I've provided is helping you come to that conclusion. This next slide here, frequently asked questions. I'm at about 43 minutes here, so I'm going to do my best to keep it under an hour. So we're going to be wrapping up here shortly. But frequently asked questions. Here's what a lot of people ask me. Can I manage my own inventory? So what do I mean by that? Let's say I've got 20 rooms and I only want to put 10 of them on the GDS. Yes is the answer. You do not have to dedicate all of your inventory on the GDS model, whereas I've seen some contracts on that direct model, and some of these guys are requiring that you have minimum inventory on their website at all times, not on the GDS, guys. Another example is, which I run into frequently, what happens if I know, Josh, in the summer months, June, July, I'm running at 95% occupancy. I don't want to put my inventory on the GDS and pay a high commission when I know I'm going to be full. Block that off. So you can block that stuff off. You don't have to show inventory in a month in which you know you're going to have high occupancy. I want you guys to get direct bookings. That's how you make more money. Let's use GDS as the icing on the cake and not the cake itself, right? Okay, next one. Can I set minimum night stay requirements? Yes is the answer, and I got a big fat exclamation point next to that. So for those of you that may be scared off by the fee of getting a one-night booking, or for those of you that do sign up and try the system and you happen to get a lot of one-night bookings and you don't like those high commission fees, then go ahead and go in here and set a minimum night stay. Make your minimum night 2 nights, make it 3 nights, or make it based on the seasons, or however you want to structure that. You guys, you have flexibility here, so take advantage of it and play around with it, okay? What's the typical turnaround time upon signing up? They tell us about 4 to 6 weeks from once you sign the contract to when you go live. I've been seeing that about 2 to 4 weeks for the last year. So we work with some pretty good providers out there that get this stuff turned around really good. And quite honestly, a lot of it depends on you guys and how fastly you can get moving with the system. So to me, that's a really good thing, especially for those of you that are potentially looking to get this going for maybe your summer months where you're pretty busy in general, or it's your busy season and you want to get some heads in beds during midweek, great. For those of you that are in your off season and you want to drive some revenue and you're thinking of ways to do it, this is also a great way to go. Next thing here, what are factors that control my placement on a travel website? So, for example, on Expedia, as I mentioned before, there are factors related to whether you're on a merchant agreement and they give you some preferential treatment and some fancy listing features, as opposed to being on a GDS agreement where you have more of a basic feature set. Well, there's an exception to the rule, okay? I've got properties in certain areas that are listed higher on the GDS agreement paying 10% to that website than those that are on a merchant agreement paying 15 to 25%. Well, why did that happen? I had a conversation with an Expedia rep about 2 months ago, and she said they have an algorithm on their website. And that algorithm is based on a bunch of different factors, but some of the main ones that she referenced was conversions, page views, reviews, both in quality and quantity, as well as your relevance to the location that someone is searching on. So the thing that stands out to me most, and in my mind, the reason why someone on a GDS agreement is going to get listed higher than someone on a merchant agreement that may be paying more is because you get more bookings, right? That's just plain logic. If Expedia and these other travel websites make money based on you guys actually getting a booking, if you're a 12-room property and you get 30 GDS bookings a month compared to a 50-room property that gets 3 GDS bookings a month, it doesn't matter what agreement, merchant, or GDS they're on with that travel website. The travel website wants more money, so they're going to bump you up, right? So just because you go the GDS route does not mean that you're going to be buried on page 10 in your local area, okay? So something to remember. As far as how do I get better placement on the OTA guides, in addition to these things, in addition to signing up for that, or excuse me, as well as signing up for that merchant agreement. As I mentioned, just because you're on GDS does not preclude you from being signed up on a merchant agreement and going directly to a website that you want a better listing on, or a website that you didn't get listed on at all, okay? So very important for you guys to remember. A promotion, okay, and this is kind of tying everything together. I think the GDS is a good thing for properties, and I'm not saying that because RezStream has some type of financial benefit, okay? If you remember why RezStream was put together and you remember the types of employees that RezStream hires, we're here to help, guys. Obviously, for our services and for our development and programming efforts, of course, we have to get paid, but we're not looking to take on every client in the world. We've been around for 10 years. We've got 700 clients. We're not trying to take over the world by any means. We're trying to help people. That's what we're passionate about. As it relates to this promotion, I went to my provider, InLink, and I said, guys, I think this is a great thing for small properties, but based on the small properties I talked to, they're scared because they want to not only control their inventory and availability, and because they prefer to get direct bookings instead of paying high commissions, as well as there's setup fees that go on with this system and support fees and so on. So typically, the setup fee to try this GDS system is $750. That includes the setup, and that includes the first year of support, okay? Well, I've cut a deal with these guys from now until the end of May. They're going to drop that $750 setup fee, which includes the first year of support, and you can try it for $50, okay? So for $50, you can get listed on hundreds of travel websites and 600,000 travel agents, increasing your visibility online exponentially, try and fill midweek bookings, try and get new guests that turn into repeat guests that you market to directly instead of them going back and booking through the same GDS channel. So in my opinion, paying $50 to try something that can increase revenue exponentially, in my opinion, it's a good thing. So something to think about. As far as the commission fees, we covered that, 10%. And you pay that 10% directly to the travel source, whether it's the travel website or the travel agent. As far as the flat fee, we also covered that. It ranges from $15.50 to $17.50. RezStream currently with InLink is charging a flat fee of $17.50. So whether it's a one-night booking, a five-night booking, it doesn't matter. You're going to pay RezStream $17.50. RezStream's going to keep a portion of that, and we're going to send a portion of that money to InLink, which is RezStream's building the connection to InLink and maintaining it. InLink's connecting you to the GDS system, travel websites, travel agents. So we've got to recoup our costs for the maintenance there. So that's the promotion. Hopefully this is of interest to some of you out there. And for those of you that don't use RezStream's software, I encourage you to touch base with your PMS vendor, find out if they're running inter promotions, find out what their fees are related to trying out the GDS system. I think it's a good thing that everyone should at least try. Okay, what's next? If you're interested, well, what's next? Well, the first thing you need to determine is the retail GDS route best for you? Again, you can be on the GDS route and you can sign up directly with people. So is that the best route for you, or is maybe that a little too much and you want to work directly with just Expedia or just Booking.com? That's your choice. So step one. Step two is you got to make sure that you're working with a vendor, a PMS vendor, that not only offers this service, but also offers that two-way connection to the GDS system, so that way you're not manually managing your availability and inventory. That's a big lifesaver, time saver, okay? Put your focus on other things. From that point, guys, then you're signing the agreement, and once that agreement is signed, the average setup time is about 2 to 4 weeks, and that includes training and ongoing support, okay? So you're going to get support, and you can work with them directly. Now, what are you responsible for? Well, just like you set up in your software and your booking engine with your vendor, you're responsible for also setting up those same things in the GDS vendor system, the rooms, the rates, the taxes, your room descriptions, your room pictures, your room policies, any minimum night stays. You set all those things up. Once those things are set up, that's when that two-way connection comes into play. Your availability automatically gets pushed up. Your GDS bookings automatically get downloaded into your reservation software. So these are the next steps here. Guys, that concludes the webinar for today. Before you go, if you have questions, I promised I'd open it up for anyone that has questions. So I'm going to unmute everyone. And if you have a question, please speak up so that we all can hear you, and I'll do my best job to give you some answers. So I'm going to unmute everyone. Does anyone have questions?
Yes, Josh, this is Esther from Numero Uno Guest House in Puerto Rico.
Hi, Esther.
Hi. One question. If we're already listed with, let's say, Booking, Expedia, with one of those agencies, and we decide we don't want to do both the GDS and the OTA, and we prefer to go with the GDS, do we cancel with go as a go-between and just absorb the information that we already have with that company?
Yeah, good question. So guys, be mindful now. There's about 20 of us here. Be mindful here. Actually, you know what I'm doing? I'm going to mute everybody. I'm going to come back to Esther. Okay, there we go, Esther. So Esther's question, guys, was she's already working with the travel website, an Expedia or a Booking.com, and she's thinking about maybe getting off of that and getting on the GDS model, and how does she go about doing that? So Esther, the answer to your question is, first and foremost, you signed an agreement with that travel website or multiple travel websites. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to review those agreements, or you need to contact that company and find out, are there any cancel fees? What happens if I stop working on this agreement with you, okay? So that's the first thing you need to do. Secondly, if you sign up for the GDS, you know, you may want to think about, well, if I'm going to get listed through the GDS on hundreds of websites, 600,000 travel agents, maybe I still want that advanced placement and those nice feature listings with those websites I'm currently working with. So you need to make that determination in advance. You need to look at that agreement, and then you need to think about signing up for that GDS. Does that answer your question, Esther?
Yes. So then if I decide that, yes, I want to go that route and stay with that so that I can have the advanced placement, so then essentially I would have two contracts and two payments, both to GDS and OTA. They don't get consolidated in any form because it's a completely separate entity.
Yeah, so here's the answer to your question. If you're, let me give you this example. If you're on Expedia.com, and let's say you're paying them 25% per booking, if you sign up on the GDS and keep Expedia.com, you're not going to pay 25% to Expedia and 10% on top of that, okay? You're not going to get double dinged from the percentage perspective. However, if you want those Expedia bookings, who you already have a contract, to come through the GDS pipe or the GDS channel and automatically download into your software and have availability upload so that it's automatic, you will have to pay that flat fee of $17.50. So you won't get hit twice on the 25% plus the 10%, but you will pay the 25% to the travel site and the $17.50 flat fee. Does that make sense?
Okay, so essentially if I stay with Expedia and I go on to GDS, I'll pay the 10% to the GDS, and plus, of course, the $17.50 or whatever it costs per booking.
That's correct.
So I would have that advanced because I haven't canceled my past contract with Expedia. Correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
You got it, Esther. And I'm gonna move on. Great questions, Esther. Thank you very much. Guys, I got another question here. There's a question here. What about the yearly fee that was not mentioned? On the GDS system, typically there is an annual support fee, okay? If you recall, normally the initial sign-up fee is $750, and that includes the first year of support. So the question is what happens after the first year? How much is support? The answer to the question is it's $400. It's a $400 annual fee after year one, and that is a mandatory fee, and that gets you direct access to InLink for any issues, questions, assistance that you have. Under that promotion, where the sign-up fee is $50, that also includes the first year of support. Then each subsequent year, you pay that $400 annual fee. Another question that came in here is, who do you go to when you have a problem with the reservation? The answer is InLink. InLink is your new best friend. InLink will help you set up the system. They'll help you optimize the system to increase revenue. If you have problems with reservations or getting guest contact information, you go to InLink, and InLink will represent you in working directly with a travel website or travel agent. Now, if you have a merchant agreement where you're direct with Expedia directly, then you're going to contact Expedia directly. Another question that came in here. Is there any way that this will work if you do not allow online bookings? Yes is the answer. The answer is absolutely yes. Okay, now let me clarify what that means. You can be on the GDS, whether you have a reservation software or a booking engine or one of the other or neither, you can get listed on travel websites through the GDS. Now, if you do not have a booking engine and you're using RezStream Professional's reservation software, the GDS bookings will not be able to automatically download into the software, and the software will not be able to automatically update your availability to the GDS system. Now, why is the answer? As of today, RezStream's reservation software is computer-based. It is not internet-based. The booking engine is what is internet-based. So the booking engine acts as the bridge or the gateway between the reservation software and the GDS system to allow that automatic two-way connection to happen. So the answer to the general question is yes, you can be on GDS without a booking engine. However, without a booking engine, that automatic connection goes away. So keep that in mind. Great question. Okay, I'm going to open it back up, guys, here. I'm going to unmute everybody. Be mindful of the background noise. Any other questions that you guys have?
What about the new online booking RezStream program? How is that going to impact GDS?
Yes. Excellent. Who is this? I'm sorry.
This is Keith. I'm sorry. Keith with Jensen's on the Golf.
That's okay, Keith. Great question. Thank you very much. For those of you that may be aware and those of you that are not aware, RezStream is adamantly, diligently working on a cloud-based reservation software. I don't want to make any time commitments as to when that product will be available because I don't control it. I am going to do my next webinar series next month in April on that product and our status, but we're thinking sometime around the summer, guys, so don't hold me to that, but nonetheless, that's kind of what we're looking at. Now, Keith, the answer to your question is it will work in a similar fashion. Now, for those that do not use a booking engine in the future, but they use the cloud reservation software, that connection will still be in place, and that automatic downloading of bookings and uploading availability will work. Furthermore, RezStream will be building what is called an open API connection. Now, that's way over my head. I'm not sure if you guys can follow, but basically that's a fancy word. Sorry. There's a lot of background noise. Basically, that's a fancy word, open API connection, for we're going to have the ability for any company or any travel website out there to be able to build a connection to the reservation software. So for those of you that do want a direct connection with a travel website, you will be able to work directly from our cloud software to that travel website and skip the GDS altogether. I cannot make commitments as to when that will be available, either the cloud reservation software or the open API connection, but these are both on our roadmap. These are both on our radar to take place in 2014. Great question. And Keith, I'm going to unlock it. Keith, did you have any other questions that you can think of?
This is Lori. Josh, can you hear me?
Yes. Yep. Who is this?
Lori from Venice Beach Villas.
Hey, Lori, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. We've talked many years on this with you. I think basically when I asked about can you manage the inventory, yes, because we do use your booking engine. With no, I can't. I have to allow all my units to flow over from the booking engine. So you're telling me there is a way to shut down either a couple months if I want to, or some units if I want to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So guys, I'm sorry I cut Lori off there. I was trying to get rid of the background noise, but I think Lori's using her computer for the mic. But the question is I use the booking engine and I have all my units displaying there, but you're telling me I can block off inventory on this GDS system. Lori, the answer is yes, and let me give you two answers here, okay? So first of all, With the booking engine, you do not have to display all of your units. Within RezStream Professional, you can go in and say, I only want 10 of my 20 total units to display on the booking engine. You can do that today. And with the GDS system, you can do the same thing. I only want this many of my total units to display on the GDS, so that way maybe I open everything up on the booking engine, but only half of the things up or a portion on the GDS. Furthermore, Lori, the answer to your question is, let's say you put all your inventory on the GDS. You can then go in and you can block off, I want units 1 through 10 not to show in June and July when I know I'm going to be at 95% occupancy. Or let's say you only want half of your units to show available in June and July. So you definitely have some flexibility both within the booking engine as well as within the GDS system. Good question. Any other questions you guys can think about? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Lori.
Josh?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So to follow on with that, you have to actually set up our group and all that, I guess, correct? So it isn't stuff what I already have loaded in on my.
Hey, Lori, I'm sorry. I'm having a real time hearing you. I've got a ton of background noise. I don't know if anyone else is having problems. Lori, maybe type your question in for me, or let's take it offline. I've got a lot of background noise. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's you, but guys, any other? Okay, thank you. Any other questions you guys can think about? No. Okay.
Josh?
Yep. Yeah. Go ahead.
Josh, this is Cindy up in Maine.
Hey, Cindy,
in
how
the
are you?
Blackberry Common, where it's snowing. I work with RezStream, have you as my property management software. If I go with the GDS agreement, do I then have to still load everything all over again with InLink, or since I already have it loaded with you, can it just go live?
That's a phenomenal question. Thank you so much, Cindy. The answer to your question is yes. As of today, the way that the GDS works is you load all your information into RezStream, rooms, rates, taxes, pictures, room description, policies, and then when you sign up for GDS, you will have to reload that stuff into InLink system. Where the two-way connection takes place is once all the data is in each system, what happens is InLink creates what they call room codes. So room 1 in InLink system needs to get matched with the appropriate room in RezStream Professional. So they will send us room codes. We will log into your software and we'll say room 1 in InLink matches room 2 in RezStream, and room 2 in InLink matches room 1 in RezStream. And from that point, that's how that particular unit gets downloaded into the right unit in the software. Now, where the two-way connection comes into play is the pushing up of the availability and the downloading of the bookings. This is how it is today. Now, that may sound cumbersome, but I think the advantages greatly outweigh your time and effort spent in loading that. InLink will walk you through those steps, and for those of you out there that hate it with a passion, call my support team, and I'll have my support team help you with that process, okay? Now, in the future, when we have the cloud software, RezStream is going to rebuild our connection with InLink, which is many years old, and we will make it so that way when you update it in RezStream, it'll automatically update it in InLink and your booking engine for you. So you're not going to have multiple places in which you're going to be managing all of that data. So great question, Cindy. Anything else you have?
No, that's perfect. I'm so glad because I'm already halfway there. I'm already loaded with RezStream, using you guys for years, love it, and this is the next logical step for me. This is perfect. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And guys, just for the record, I did not pay Cindy to say that, but I may be calling her and sending her some flowers and chocolates. But no, seriously though. So I'm going to wrap up. I think we could go all day, and I don't want to cut anybody short. But based on some of the background noise and timing in general, we're at about an hour and 6 minutes, so I promise to let you guys get out of here. I've got a recording of this. If you want to see it or share it with anyone else, send me an email, let me know. My email's right here on the screen. As well as, guys, if you have any direct questions, reach out to me, email me, call me. No question is a dumb question, I promise you, and I probably could talk about this stuff for days. So think about it, consider it. Use the promotional code if you do want to sign up before the end of May and save $700. and we'll go from there. So thank you very much. The next webinar that I'm going to do in April will be towards the end of the month. It will be on the cloud reservation software, so be looking out for those emails in your inboxes to sign up. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.